On Hot Copy this morning, joining us is presidential candidate Senator Panfilo Lacson. Senator Lacson, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Karen. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Let's start with President Duterte's latest talk to the people. He now likens the Senate hearings to something worse than martial law. Let's start with that.
Well, the president should know better. He used to be a congressman, and he knows the powers of Congress under the Constitution. And there's existing jurisprudence in this regard. The Balag case is an example. It modifies the contempt powers of the Senate, somehow limiting it.
Now, detaining Lincoln Ong because he was evading questions, in effect, the president has implied that that was too much when the Senate could have taken the time, go through due process and allow these witnesses the right to be heard.
Well, it's well within the powers of the Senate to cite him in contempt of the committee and detain him in the premises of the Senate. In fact, we can even transfer his detention to some other detention facilities. But right now, he's staying in the Senate. And that's how it is, because he had been evasive in his answers to the senators.
And Senator Ping, what can happen now given that Lincoln Ong has hired a new attorney and Attorney Topacio has described the Senate hearings as a kangaroo court? Can Lincoln Ong completely refuse to cooperate?
Well, as long as he refuses to cooperate, then he will stay under detention. Until such time that we have submitted or we have adopted or approved the committee report, if and when it is submitted by the Blue Ribbon Committee chairman or the committee itself.
An ordinary citizen might be watching and asking right now, given that this is not a prosecutorial body, so to speak. This is merely in aid of legislation. Why can't an ordinary citizen like Lincoln Ong, with the advice of his lawyer, refuse to participate? He is exercising a constitutional right to remain silent. That's the other side of the issue.
Yes, that's also within his rights to refuse to answer questions, refuse to participate, but it is also within our rights to detain him as long as the Senate, of course, under the limitations under the new jurisprudence in the Balag case. Remember the Accio Castillo hazing case? Somehow it modified or limited the powers of Congress or the Senate to detain persons not being forthright in answering questions.
Yeah. And how long can Lincoln Ong actually be detained by the Senate based on the revised powers? You have said it's limited. Is it 60 days still?
No, not days. When the committee report has already been submitted and the plenary or the Senate in plenary has already approved the recommendations in the committee report, or when the Senate or the Congress has adjourned sine die, then we can no longer detain Lincoln Ong.
So how many days are you counting that to be? I mean, of course, coming out with a committee report, you don't know it just yet, no? But what are you seeing?
Well, I really don't know, but if he continues to be evasive, if he continues not to cooperate, then I would guess that he will be staying or spending Christmas and even New Year's Eve in the Senate premises.
Okay. Now, he could be spending...
It's all up to him, Karen.
Yeah. Spending Christmas and New Year's Eve, that would mean that that is more than technically 60 days.
Correct. That is correct.
So, Senator Lacson, just how important is his testimony?
Well, he already started to... In fact, during our conversation with him, because Senate President Soto and I went down to the second floor to talk to him, when he indicated that he wanted to say something, but in an executive session. No, sorry.
Okay.
So
All right, you're back.
then, when we were talking to him, he divulged some very vital information, which I'm not ready to share with you because we had an agreement with him at the time that it would be just between him and the Senate President and myself. And we were expecting at the time, because he was the one who requested that he would tell all, not necessarily all, because he stopped at implicating some personalities, and that's it. That's as far as he was willing to go. But then I think the atmosphere has changed. The environment has changed. He hired the lawyer who is very arrogant, calling the senators' names and calling the Senate names, and I don't think it will help his cause.
This vital information that Lincoln On shared, does it validate Crizel Mago's agreement with when Senator Gordon asked her, did you swindle the government? And she said, I believe so. Does this in a way solidify that?
No, it's about Michael Yang.
It's about Michael Yang.
That's
All right.
correct.
Okay, and would it be related to Michael Yang funding formally or loaning formally?
That is correct.
Okay, what happens if Lincoln Ong refuses now to divulge this? You being a senator, are you obligated to share this to complete the committee report?
Well, Karen, remember, there was already information shared by Lincoln Ong as well as the other guy from Singapore that Michael Yang indeed loaned money to Parmalee to purchase medicines from Tiger Field and even other suppliers. So even without the corroborative statement of Lincoln Ong, I think we have sufficient ground to conclude or even suspect that Michael Yang really had something to do with the supply of medical or providing medical supplies, procurement of medical supplies by PSDBM.
All right. Senator Lacson, I would just like to check your microphone right now. Okay, can you speak again, sir?
Yes.
That's better.
Okay.
All right. Okay, let's move now to Crizel Mago. Do you have any information where she is right now? And has there been is there success in trying to communicate with her or reach her?
First, let's put things in perspective. We have no decision yet, or Ms. Mago has not been cited in contempt of the committee. And there's no, I don't think the Senate can arrest her and detain her. That is to be resolved first in the next hearing. If somebody will move to cite her for contempt and then order her, and if the committee and Senate President will order her arrest, that is the time that we have the power to look for her and arrest her and detain her in the Senate premises. But right now, that's thing,
Before we go to the SWS question, we continue with formally. So I just want to ask you this. Earlier, Senator Lacson, you said a link was not yet established between the anomalous transactions in the DBM to formally with President Duterte himself. With the hearings today, are you seeing a link or a connection?
No, there's no connection that has been established so far. Michael Yang is as far as we go right now. Yung implication, but not the president, not the palace, not even Senator Bongo.
Then why would they be so bold? Who would be protecting them to act so boldly to allow overpriced face shields and masks? And with the testimonies of even getting into business with Parmalee, for example, why would they be so bold?
Hindi lang yun, Karen. Bakit all in ang presidente sa pagdidepensa? Kanina when you said, parang malimit na ngayon yung kanyang talk to the nation. And isa lang yung topic hitting the Senate, defending Parmalee, and defending everybody else. Tapos yung tirades niya, laging directed against Senator Gordon, against the Senate, and even some senators.
And you still don't see a link, given the fact that the president has been protecting and defending these characters when he talks to the people, when he addresses the people?
Being an investigator, ako, I always go by evidence. We can always speculate, based on circumstances, based on pronouncements or statements made. But still, at the end of the day, ang pinag-uusapan natin dito, ano yung ebidensya? And so far, talagang wala kaming hawak na ebidensya to link the president to Parmali or even to Michael Yang, except that, merong admission that they have been long-time friends, even before when he was a mayor, so for 20 years. But that's not enough to implicate the president or even think that the president had something to do with Parmali supplying PSDBM with medical supplies. So, yun, wala talaga tayong makita as of now na link to the president or even anybody in the palace for that matter. But what cannot be denied, I'm sorry Karen, yung overpricing masyadong evident, Tapos yung special treatment given to Parmali, imagine where can you find na walang PO nakapag-deliver, di ba? So ito yung and the prices, the prices that we see during the hearings, talagang laki ng diferensya from the other suppliers' prices.
Now, what is the accountability of Health Secretary Francisco Duque in all this? Did he sign any of the contracts between the DBM and Parmali, for example, approving that Parmali won the bid? Did the DOH sign these contracts as well?
Remember, nag-trigger ng itong inquiry na ito yung COA report. Ano sinasabi ng COA report? Walang memorandum of agreement between DOH and the PSDBM for the transfer of 42 billion pesos. Ito yung nag-trigger lahat eh. So, if Secretary Duque can be held liable, being the head of the agency that transferred the funds to PSDBM without a memorandum of agreement, then he can be held liable.
Oh, that's one. But then in terms of formally closing the deal, did the DOH sign off on any of these contracts?
Wala, it's all PSDBM.
And is that correct? Is that the way, is that standard operating procedure?
Yun nga yung problema, why transfer the funds to PSDBM when yung expertise nasa DOH to determine which medical supplies would be needed to address the COVID-19 pandemic. So yun ang napalaking question mark. Why transfer the funds that DOH has or had para ipaubaya sa PSDBM ang pag-procure ng mga medical supplies na napakamahal and under very questionable circumstances.
Okay, now the Senate has found what they call, Senator Drilon has defined it as premeditated plunder, but the lower house in a parallel probe says there is no wrongdoing in terms of the Parmali deal. What do you make of that the House completely has opposite findings?
Well, it's quite obvious na yung House allies ng Palasyo and is now doing everything it can to not really divert the issue, but they're even hitting the Senate's investigation. Remember, Chairman Michael Aglipay announcing na yung Senate ginigipit yung mga witnesses. There's no interparliamentary courtesy, thrown out of the window. So if you cannot make of something out of that statement, then napaka-obvious naman na yung parallel investigation ng House para lang i-protektahan yung interest ng Malacanang. And I cannot, I still cannot understand bakit kailangan protektahan yung Malacanang. Wala pa naman naglilink sa Malacanang tungkol dito sa mga anomalous transactions ng Parmali sa PSDBM.
The fact that Christopher Lau, who was Undersecretary of the DBM, was appointed in such a sensitive post, considering he had come from other posts where he was quite controversial in those posts as well, doesn't this make the appointing body, be that either the president who appointed him there, as accountable in this whole situation?
Well, the president under the Constitution has the power to appoint, kasi ito yung mga executive functions, and he was appointed as undersecretary. Dapat yung DBM secretary ang nagde-designate sa kanya as executive director or OIC ng PSDBM. Pero pagdating niya doon, siya na yung naging OIC at saka executive director.
Because who is made accountable for Undersecretary Christopher Lau's actions?
Well, Undersecretary Lau will be made accountable because we cannot question the appointing authority of the president. Kasi naandyan yan eh. Mga co-terminus
Where
ito.
would Undersecretary Lau have this boldness, this brazenness?
Yun nga, your question is as good as mine, ano? And as good as the questions in the minds of Filipinos. Ano? Bakit ganong katapang? And remember, pati yung pag-disregard do sa procedures sa procurement, malinaw do sa Bayanihan 1 and followed up by the GPPB resolution, I think March 9 ang date. Ano? Nakalagay doon, dapat legally, technically, and financially capable. Pero hindi niya man lang tiningnan yung income tax returns. Tapos paano mo masabi na financially capable kung ang capitalization nasa 625,000 pesos lamang? Anyway.
No, but then that's the point. What you're describing, critics say that in effect, these personalities acted like a syndicate. So my question is, why would Christopher Lau be that bold and that brazen? And with Malacanang now acting, protecting all of them, you don't see that as a clear link?
Well, those are circumstances, but they should be circumstances, should be corroborated by other pieces of evidence. Hindi pwede lamang na sasabihin natin just because masyadong brazen, masyadong bold, link na agad ito sa palasyo. We can think that, or we can speculate all we want. But still, kung walang clear evidence to link Christopher Lau's action to Malacanang or anybody in Malacanang for that matter, hanggang speculation lang tayo.
Okay, let's move on now to the latest SWS survey that we just showed a while ago, that 6 out of 10 Filipinos believe the president's vice presidential candidacy violates the intention of the Constitution. What is your reaction to the SWS survey?
Well, that is the sentiment of 60% of Filipinos. Pero this is one issue that the Supreme Court has to resolve. Ano? Kasi novel issue ito eh. First case ito, in case na mayroong mag-file ng petition questioning the legality of the president running for vice president. But remember, there are presidents, di ba? Si President Arroyo, naging congresswoman. And then there are other instances before na ang question kasi rito, Karen, if you are the vice president, you are the successor to the president in case something happens to the president. So, ang tanong is mas dapat nakapokus, can he take over as president in case of incapacity or death of the sitting president? Dan nandun ang question, but running for vice president, I don't think there's a legal or constitutional issue. No? Based on what I heard from legal luminaries and even retired justices of the Supreme Court. Ang talagang issue dapat pag-usapan, makaka-take over ba siya considering na ang term niya as president 6 years lang, di ba?
So you're saying, because let's talk about that now. President Arroyo ran for Congress, which would take her a few steps away from the presidency. But essentially, for whatever intention, she ran and won and became a public official. But your question now is, given that these are the 2 highest posts in the land, you don't see there's a legal impediment to that?
There could be, if something happens to the president and he becomes the vice president. Magkakaroon ng legal issue kung makakaupo ba siya or makaka-take over as president in case of incapacity or death of the sitting president. Nandun siguro yung issue. Karen, remember, yung speaker, because former President Arroyo became Speaker of the House. Yung speaker, number what?
3.
3. Number
3, right? 3.
And yeah, number 3 sa line of succession. But remember, yung vice president lamang ang magiging presidente. Yung Senate President at saka yung Speaker of the House, acting president lang yan under the Constitution. And within a certain period of time, kailangan tumawag siya ng election para magkaroon tayo ng permanenteng president. In the case of vice president, talagang magte-take over siya hanggang matapos yung term, yung unexpired term ng presidente na napalitan niya.
Mm-mm, mm-mm. So the only question for you is, can he take over? If
Yeah.
ever hypothetically something happens to the president or the president resigns or
Yes.
is impeached.
Pero yung running, I think that's out of the question. Ano?
Mm.
That's based on my, on my consultation with some legal luminaries.
Okay. Can the president use police power to enforce vaccination? He said it last night in his talk to the people. Is that possible?
Yes, I think so. But again, if it is questioned before the High Court, kasi hindi mo naman maperso yung tao kung, kasi katawan niya yan eh. But again, there's an issue na katawan mo nga yan, pero may mahahawahan ka naman. If you're not vaccinated, you're vulnerable to getting infected. And consequently, sige, makakahawa ka. So again, legal question ito na dapat ma-resolve. But at this point in time, I would support that move. Kasi we're facing a pandemic and kailangan talaga mag-fully vaccinate tayong lahat.
Are you for mandatory vaccinations? You already have, there is a school, for example, in the US that mandates teachers and students, if they go to the university, they have to be mandatory. It's mandatory vaccination, was brought to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court did not issue a TRO on that order. And you already have Joe Biden coming out also with certain policies on mandatory vaccination for federal workers. Are you for mandatory vaccination, Senator?
Yes, I'm all for it. Kaya lang, dapat i-resolve yung legal issues, yung individual rights ng individual, ng tao, kung gusto niya magpag-vaccinate o hindi.
So mandatory vaccinations regardless whether it's a private citizen or one who works for the government.
Yes, we must all support that. Kasi paano tayo makakaalis dito sa pandemic kung wala yung mga preventive na dapat measures para makaalis tayo sa pandemic.
And you believe this supersedes personal rights? Personal rights, you believe?
Yun nga ang problema. Kailangan i-balance natin yung individual rights, yung rights ng citizens, kung tatanggi sila magpag-vaccinate, and the rights of the other citizens of this country to be protected from getting infected.
If you were just quickly going to push for mandatory vaccinations, there are people who support that though. How would you do it?
Well, I think mas maganda yung gamitin na lang yung encouragement at saka yung proper information campaign at saka education para ma-maximize yung magpa-vaccinate. But then another issue is nasaan yung mga vaccines? Can we have enough vaccines to, inoculate all Filipinos, at least all population in the meantime?
How do you describe the government's rollout, the COVID rollout right now? I mean, it's already September. When we were speaking with Secretary Galvez, he had said there would be an influx of vaccines by July, August.
Matagal na nating narinig, but we've been to Leyte in Palo, and we were talking to the local officials there, si Secretary Iko Petilla and Governor Mick Petilla. Hanggang ngayon, 16% pa lang yung kanilang yung nababaksinate. So may mga areas talagang lagging behind. Of course, sa Metro Manila, medyo mataas na yung sabi nila, almost 100%. Pero we should also mind the people in the countryside because they are entitled as much as we are sa vaccines. Pero mahina yung rollout pagdating sa mga provinces o lalo sa mga malalayong lugar.
And why do you think hasn't the government signed the tripartite agreement with the LGUs, allowing LGUs to purchase their own vaccines? Because LGU said they have the money. And yet this tripartite agreement has been sitting there for more than 6 months now. Are you seeing a political reason behind this?
Karen, that's another issue na kailangan i-explain ng national government. May pera yung LGU, may pera yung private sector. Bakit kinokontrol nila? Dapat idadaan sa national government. Na-explain na nila ito na dapat G2G. But look, Sinovac is not G2G because Sinovac is a private firm. And how many doses of vaccines have we ordered or have we procured actually from Sinovac? Mahigit 30 million eh. Nasa mga 33 million na yata. So sabi nila, it's a question of supply. Mas maraming supply ng Sinovac. Pero natatandaan ko yung the first time we heard about Sinovac, private corporation yon, and yet dinitingnan nun, dapat G2G, government to government lang yung transaction. If they only allow the private sector and the LGUs, kung binigyan nila ng authority to deal directly with the vaccine suppliers, noon pa, siguro ngayon malayo na tayo sa vaccination program. Ang hindi maintindihan, ba't kinokontrol nila? Ito yung mga tanong ng even the private sector when we talk to them. Nagtataka sila bakit kailangang kontrolin lahat ng gobyerno ang procurement ng vaccines. Remember, Karen, there was an issue before na yung nag-submit sila sa Committee on Finance ng Senate, yung indicative price ng Sinovac, how much? 3,629 pesos and 50 centavos per 2 doses, meaning 1,814 and 25 centavos. Only to find out, yung Thailand and Indonesia, bumibili pa lang under 700. So when that came out, nag-adjust sila ng presyo. But then again, and we'd like to ask Secretary Duque this, magkano talaga yung bili natin ng Sinovac? Baka naman meron na namang favored supplier yan o merong broker na naman yan. That's what we want to find out kasi masyadong favored yung Sinovac. If you compute o tingnan natin yung discrepancy compared to the other brands of vaccines, napakalayo.
So are you going to initiate an investigation on this or not necessarily?
It's part of the Blue Ribbon Committee investigation. In fact, I asked Secretary Duque that already during the last hearing. Sabi ko, mag-submit sila, magkano talaga yung actual na pagbili natin sa Sinovac? Kasi bakit tayo sa Sinovac? Samantalang even Mayor Sara Duterte, nag-appeal na siya na napaka-low ang acceptability ng Sinovac sa Davao City.
Okay. So quick questions now, moving to other issues. The president also warned he may use the military to ensure peaceful elections. And of course, this was in the context of, I think, areas in Mindanao. But then just to bring up the military to ensure peaceful elections rouses fears in the hearts of many Filipinos that gagamitin ang militar tuwing eleksyon. What do you make of that?
Alam, being a non-lawyer, ang alam ko, COMELEC lamang ang pwede mag-mobilize ng military at saka ng pagka-eleksyon, not the president. Because pagka-election period, COMELEC talaga yung nag-deputize sa mga armed services. So, tsaka iniisip ko, anong pinagugutan ng Pangulo nang sabihin niyang imomobilize ang military? Wala pa naman tayo narinig na threats, hindi ba? Meron na narinig na ba tayo unless yung NSA or yung intelligence community, may sinabit silang information sa Pangulo na hindi natin alam. But then this should be explained to the people. Why would the president threaten to mobilize the military pagdating ng eleksyon? Well, let's think about that.
Yeah, or frankly, should it be explained to the president that he can't?
Well, he has, a coterie of legal experts around him, yung Presidential Legal Counsel and even yung DOJ should remind him if my opinion is correct na COMELEC lamang pwedeng, alam naman natin yan, Karen, di ba? Common knowledge naman yan na COMELEC lamang ang pwedeng mag-mobilize sa military pagdating ng election.
Now, the irony, I mean, of course, you will be going through the budget, the 2022 budget quite soon, the details of it. The NTF-ELCAC apparently hit you on their Facebook post. Of course, they deleted the post, but in a way, insulted you, called you names, gave political insinuations, and it's because you refuse to increase the budget of the NTF-ELCAC. I've asked you before if you regretted supporting the NTF-ELCAC in this manner. You said yes, if it's not used properly. What do you make of the NTF-ELCAC's behavior today?
Well, mga bully di ba? I've been defending or had been defending the budget of NTF-ELCAC for so many years. Just because meron kami nasilip na probable misuse in the implementation of the funds of the NTF-ELCAC, and I called them out on this. Biglang galit na. And tama sinabi mo, they had been insulting me and calling me names. What happened to those years when when I was defending their budget and even augmenting their budget? All of a sudden, biglang may turn around using this Jeffrey Celis to hit me on Facebook and other social media platforms. So these are the kinds of people that we're dealing with.
Yeah.
Bully eh.
So do you now see that the NTF-ELCAC, or do you believe the NTF-ELCAC, frankly, it's used for political purposes, it's for political ends? Do you see that?
Like that, because in Mindanao, for example, merong binigyan ng more than 1 billion na wala namang surrenderies. Meron namang ang daming surrenderies. Ni Cinco, walang binigay yung NTF-ELCAC. In fact, the governor there was the one who shelled out the money of the provincial government para tingnan yung mga surrenderies o para alam mo, kasi may mga commitments yan eh. So why is there this disparity between two local government units? Yung isa, known ally ng palasyo, yung isa hindi. So dito pala, makikita mo, bakit para may political considerations? Hindi ba yung NTF-ELCAC gagamitin dito talagang for development and livelihood projects ng mga surrenderies para hindi na magkaroon ng opportunity yung CPP, NPA, NDF na makapalik sa mga lugar na na-cleared na yung mga cleared barangays. So pagka ganito yung takbo, how can we succeed? Ako, I was very supportive of the NTF-ELCAC because I was shown the itemized list projects and hindi ko na in-scrutinize one by one. As it turned out, meron mga considerations na aside from ending the insurgency problem in the country, may mga political considerations. So that's why I told you during the last time that we spoke, sabi ko I really regret having supported all the way yung NTF-ELCAC fund. But now it's a different story. I'm no longer the sponsor, and I will participate even in plenary in scrutinizing the humongous, I think it's 28 billion now. Or
Yeah, it's a 58% increase of the budget. I think from 16 to 25 million, something like that. Yeah. So you will ensure that the NTF-ELCAC doesn't get this increase?
No, I will make sure that the the itemized list, would really go to areas that need development and livelihood on account of the prevailing insurgency situation in those areas. Like kung cleared na, ilan yung talagang dapat scrutinize.
Okay, let's talk about the presidency. A day ago, of course, you've reiterated there's no backing out when it comes to you running for the presidency. What do you make of so many opposition candidates? Let's start first with that. When I say opposition, I'm being, general about this term, right? It's not strictly opposition, but those running as an alternative to the administration. There's you, Senator Manny Pacquiao, Mayor Isko Moreno, and of course, the camp of Vice President Lenny and Senator Trillanes, still finding out or making a decision who's going to run between them. But what do you make of this, Senator Ping?
First, let's wait for October 8th, the last day of the fight, and even November 15th, the last day for substitution, before we can really conclude kung ilan ba yung talagang formally or officially yung candidates for President and Vice President. So I'd rather defer comment on who would compose the so-called opposition or non-administration candidates until malinaw na talaga yung horizon.
Yeah, Vice President Lenny Robredo says tuloy pa rin ang pag-uusap. She's still hopeful that a unity can be forged. Frankly speaking, are you seeing that as a possibility?
Well, I tried,
But moving forward, is it still possible?
It's possible, but very slim yung chance na kung meron man opening yung door, I think napakasikip na noong daraanan na pinto pagdating dito. Because, he's been talking to, sabi niya, Mayor Isko, Senator Manny, pero nag-announce na rin yung dalawa eh. di ba, nag-declare na rin. In fact, si Mayor Isko, talagang tingnan natin tuloy-tuloy na. So I don't know where, or I cannot see the possibility, no, na matutuloy pa yung sinasabing one unity ticket ng opposition, administration ticket. Medyo malabo siguro.
Yeah. What about your Senate slate with Senate President Tito Soto? So I'm curious, NPC, there are returning senators like Senator Cheese Escudero, Senator Lauren Legarda, members of NPC, but tend to be adopted also by other, tandems or slates, so to speak.
Yeah, I was told Senator JB is also confirmed
Yes.
with the Senate President na he will also run under our ticket. But then, sabi mo nga, nothing will prevent them, and we will not prevent them from being adopted by other political parties if they so desire.
And I think Lucy Torres Gomez is no longer running for the Senate, correct?
Yes, he confirmed that. Still run for mayor of Ormoc. And then we're talking to Rafi Tulfo. We talked already, but yun nga, may mga nire-resolve pang ibang mga minor issues, mga concerns niya. And
So-
of course, si Secretary Manny Piñol indicated his intention to also run for the Senate under our ticket.
Okay.
Other, of course, the incumbents, Senator Mick, Senator Joel, magulo pa yung kay Senator Sherwin, nagugulo ang Senate President sa kung ano talagang decision niya. But by and large, parang almost filled up na yung aming slate. Anyway, September 30.
Would you be able to, given that Lucy is no longer there, would you have a list of your Senate slate than you want? Would you have it?
Yes, they have a list pero lahat tentative until
Okay.
they really formalize their intention to run under our ticket.
What about Governor Vilma Santos? There's talk of her running for the Senate. Where is she in all this?
Well, during our break in the lounge, si Senator Recto told us na kung pwedeng si Vilma isama sa slate namin. And we said, yes, most welcome. And then the following day or 2 days after, sabi niya, wag na muna kasi hindi pa sure. So, and now, the latest, sila mag-asawa are throwing their support kay Mayor Isko. So, let's leave it at that. And yeah.
So if she runs for the Senate and they've thrown, yes, publicly their support with Mayor Isko, for example, you will not adopt Governor V in your slate.
Well, it doesn't.
Yeah.
Because she's supporting another presidential candidate. Why would I adopt her?
Okay. Another one is Kabayan Noli de Castro. Talks of him running for the Senate. It's come out in several, articles yesterday. Have you spoken?
No, we have not spoken to Kabayan Noli. May nakausap lang siya na common friend na sinasabing 1 month ago pa siya nag-decide na sumama doon sa ticket ni Mayor Isko. Kasi ang sabi niya, ito yung not directly coming from him. Kasi ang alam niya at that time, puno na yung aming slate. But he had not indicated any intention to run for the Senate. Even last month that he said na nag-decide na siya.
My last question is the fact that Senator Bongo has accepted the nomination of PDP Laban. Of course, it's yet to be announced. And you have Bongbong Marcos with the likelihood of also running for the presidency. Some say they have the same political base, so to speak, the same group of supporters. What are you seeing on that end, Senator Lacson?
Yeah, kami ni Senate President Soto, ang focus na lang namin is to present ourselves as, as candidates, Kasi madidistract pa kami if we mind other potential presidential and vice presidential candidates. So nandun yung focus namin. Present na lang natin sarili natin yung ating track record, yung ating is whatever we can present to the people, yun na lang present natin. So we get focused on our campaign.
A question here is, have you decided when you will file your certificate of candidacy?
Yes, we're filing on October.
I'm sorry?
We're filing on October 6th. We also have the exact time when to file because it is Vice Presidential candidate or Senate President Soto who decides on this matter because siya yung medyo may paniniwala doon sa mga consultations, alam mo na. Ako, I always respect pagdating sa mga ganong hunches or whatever basis for timing the launch event and then the filing. Si Tito Sen na yun.
Okay. So you said October 6. I heard correctly. Yeah. October 6. Okay. So it was Senate President Tito Soto who chose on October 6.
That is correct.
Okay. A last question here from I think one of our reporters who's been doing this story is are you able to describe, Senator Lacson, details about Frizzell Mago? I think holistically is the question here. Do you believe she can be trusted? What kind of person is she? Because you have Malacanang saying it's just one person saying that they may have swindled the government. That's not much.
Karen, if you observe the hearing last Friday, at one point, she was all ready to tell the whole truth. When I questioned her, I was the one who was asking the question. And at first, she was reluctant. Sabi niya, management instructed her to instruct the warehouseman to change the production date. And then when I pressed and asked her who in particular, then without hesitation, she mentioned Mohit Dargani. Unfortunately, mayroong interjection na sabihin ko na medyo na-distract and then yung train of thought nawala. Nagkaroon na nag-vacillate na. Because I reviewed the tape nakita ko episode na yon na medyo nag-crack pa yung voice niya when she was when she mentioned the name Dagani. So sayang, ako nanghinaing lang doon sa yung that particular part na I think she saw the light and she was ready to tell all to tell the truth about Parmali supplying medical items PSDBM.
Yeah. All right. Well, on that note, I know you have another hearing on Thursday. I'm correct, Senator? It'll be the 10th. Is that correct?
Yeah. 10th hearing at 2 p.m.
And do you hope that this is the last?
I'm not hoping that would be the last because, information keeps trickling in, although sabi nga ng iba, intrigues. But that's the way it goes, May mga biglang nagbibigay ng information. Just in my case, may mga pumasok na bagong information kung sino yung nagbo-broker doon sa Parmali.
So you will reveal this? You have new information on who's brokering for Parmali?
That's a lot. That's a lot importation.
Yeah. Will you have a PowerPoint presentation? Does this reach all the way to Malacanang?
No, not Malacanang. The suppliers, yung mga non-suppliers. But very frequent yung importation na nangyari ng mga suppliers supplied sa PSDBM.
Okay. On that note, Senator Panfilo Lacson, thank you for joining me today and good luck, sir, with your candidacy. You take care, sir.
Thank you, Karen.